The stars had never looked so threatening to Captain Daniel Hayes as they did on this particular morning in 2347. He stood on the bridge of the Herald, watching the view screen display thousands of alien ships moving around the massive space station ahead. This was humanity's first official meeting with the galaxy, and Daniel knew that every word, every gesture, every detail mattered more than anything in human history. The Herald was a small ship by design. It had basic fusion engines that pushed it through space at reasonable speeds. Its weapons were simple railguns and missile tubes, nothing fancy or threatening. The hull was standard titanium alloy with basic shielding. Everything about the Herald screamed that humanity was new, weak, and harmless. That was exactly the impression Earth wanted to give. Ambassador Lisa Chen walked onto the bridge wearing a formal blue suit. She looked calm, but Daniel could see the tension in her shoulders. Behind her came 3 junior diplomats carrying data tablets loaded with carefully prepared information about Earth. Information that was mostly true, but not complete. Not even close to complete. "Captain Hayes, are we ready for docking?" Lisa asked. Daniel nodded and gestured to the helmsman. "Take us in slowly. Let them see we're no threat." The Herald moved toward the station called Nexus Prime. It was huge, bigger than Earth's moon, with docking bays that could hold ships the size of cities. Thousands of vessels from hundreds of different species crowded the space around it. Some ships looked like living creatures with organic hulls. Others were geometric shapes that hurt to look at. A few glowed with energy that sensors couldn't quite identify. Daniel had studied the intelligence reports for months. The Galactic Council was old, very old. Some species had been traveling between stars for over 10,000 years. They had technologies that seemed like magic. Faster than light travel that didn't use Einstein's equations. Energy shields that could stop nuclear weapons. Medical science that could regrow limbs and cure diseases humanity still struggled with, and they all thought humans were primitive children who had just learned to walk among the stars. A communications officer turned to Daniel. "Sir, we're receiving docking instructions from station control. Bay 847, outer ring." "The cheap seats," Daniel muttered. The outer ring was where the council put species they didn't consider important. It was a message, a clear one. Humanity didn't matter. Lisa heard him and smiled slightly. "Let them think what they want. That's the whole point." The Herald docked without incident. Lisa led her team through the airlock into a corridor filled with aliens of every imaginable shape. Tall ones, short ones, ones that floated, ones that crawled. The air smelled strange. A mixture of 1,000 different atmospheres filtered and blended. Translator devices built into their suits converted the chaos of alien languages into understandable English. A reptilian creature approached them. It walked on 4 legs but had 6 arms, each holding a different device. Its scales were deep purple and its eyes were yellow with vertical pupils. "Ambassador Chen of Earth?" it asked in a hissing voice. "Yes, I am Ambassador Chen. I am Korax, Military Director of the Galactic Council. Follow me to the assembly chamber. Your species will present itself to the Council and provide documentation of your capabilities." Korax led them through massive hallways filled with representatives from countless worlds. Many stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious. Others looked amused. A few looked hungry in ways that made Daniel's hand drift toward his sidearm. The assembly chamber was enormous. Thousands of seats rose in tiers around a central platform. Holographic displays floated in the air showing star maps, trade routes, and military deployments. At the highest tier sat the Council's ruling members, 7 species that had held power for millennia. Lisa walked to the central platform with her head high. She activated her data tablet and began the presentation humanity had prepared so carefully. She showed them Earth's location in the galaxy. She explained human history, edited to make them seem peaceful and curious. She displayed images of Earth cities, its culture, its art. Everything designed to make humans look interesting but not threatening. Then came the military section. Lisa transmitted Earth's official fleet registry to the Council's computers. 23 ships, a few destroyers for protecting cargo vessels from pirates, some corvettes for system patrol, 1 diplomatic cruiser, the Herald. No battleships, no carriers, no weapons of mass destruction. Korax examined the data with his multiple arms working different screens. "This is your entire military fleet? 23 vessels?" "Yes, Director Korax. We've focused our resources on exploration and peaceful development." Several council members made sounds that the translators interpreted as laughter. One alien that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke in a voice like wind chimes. How charming. They've barely left their birth world and already they come seeking our guidance. Lisa kept her expression neutral. We hope to learn from the council's wisdom and contribute what little we can to galactic civilization. More laughter. Corax dismissed them with a wave of one arm. We will review your application for council membership. Return to your ship and wait for our decision. What none of the aliens knew was that far beyond their sensors, in the cold darkness of Earth's Kuiper Belt, Commander Kyle Morrison sat in the command chair of a ship that made the Herald look like a toy. The Valiant was a dreadnought, 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Its hull was made from materials that didn't officially exist. Its engines could push it to speeds that broke every known law of physics, and the Valiant wasn't alone. Around it hung 399 other warships, each one invisible to every sensor in the galaxy. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, carriers, each one a masterpiece of human engineering developed over 150 years of paranoid preparation. Kyle watched the diplomatic proceedings through quantum-encrypted transmission. He saw the aliens laugh at humanity. He saw them dismiss Earth as weak and helpless. His hands gripped the armrests of his command chair hard enough to hurt. "Easy, Commander," said Captain Nicole Harper over the secure channel. She commanded the destroyer Thunderbolt, positioned 3 light minutes away. "Let them laugh. They'll learn soon enough, will they?" Kyle asked. "Or will we hide forever while they treat us like children?" "We hide until we have no choice," said another voice. Admiral Jack Peterson, speaking from Mars Command back in the solar system. "That was always the plan. We show them a kitten and keep the lion hidden until the moment we need it." Kyle knew the Admiral was right. When humanity had first detected alien signals 150 years ago, the world's governments had made a choice. They would prepare for the worst possibility while hoping for the best. They built the Shadow Fleet in secret, using resources from asteroid mining and automated factories that no one talked about. They developed technologies in hidden laboratories scattered across the solar system. They created an entire military force that officially didn't exist. The public fleet, the one the aliens were laughing at, was real. Those 23 ships did exist and they did protect Earth's trade routes, but they were never meant to protect Earth from alien invasion. That job belonged to the 400 ghost ships floating in the dark, watching, waiting, ready. Back on Nexus Prime, Lisa completed her presentation and returned to the Herald. Once safely aboard and away from alien listening devices, she let her diplomatic mask drop. "They bought it completely. They think we're harmless," Daniel nodded. "Corax barely looked at our fleet data. He was too busy being amused that we're so weak." "Good. That gives us time to study them, learn their weaknesses, understand their technology." Lisa pulled up the recordings her team had secretly made. "Did you see the shield generators on those Vraxian battleships? The energy signature is all wrong. I think we could punch right through them with kinetic rounds." "Let's hope we never have to find out," Daniel said, but he was already forwarding the data to Kyle and the Shadow Fleet. 3 days later, the Council announced their decision. Humanity would be granted protected status as a vassal species under the military oversight of the Vraxian Empire. Earth would pay tribute. Earth would accept Vraxian bases on its worlds. Earth would be grateful for the protection of its betters. Ambassador Lisa accepted the terms with a smile and thanked the Council for their generous offer. She signed the treaties and shook appendages with aliens who thought they now owned humanity. On the Valiant, Kyle Morrison read the treaty terms and felt his blood turn cold. The Vraxians were one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They treated vassal species like slaves, and now they thought they owned Earth. "Admiral Peterson," Kyle said over the quantum link, "please tell me we have a plan for this." The Admiral's voice was hard as steel. "We do. It's called patience. Let them think they've won. Let them make demands. And when they push too far, when they finally threaten something we can't allow, then we show them what humanity really is." Kyle looked out at the Shadow Fleet stretching into the darkness. 400 ships, thousands of crew members, decades of preparation, all waiting for the moment when Earth would need them. That moment he knew was coming soon. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council, and every day had been a calculated performance. Ambassador Lisa Chen smiled at alien dignitaries who looked down on her. Captain Daniel Hayes allowed Vraxian inspectors to tour the Herald and examine its primitive weapons. Earth paid its tribute on time, shipped resources to Vraxian worlds, and acted like the grateful vassal species everyone expected them to be. But beneath the surface, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was working. She was the Herald's intelligence officer, and her job was to listen to everything the aliens said when they thought humans weren't paying attention. She had placed monitoring devices throughout Nexus Prime during diplomatic meetings. She had hacked into communication networks using techniques the aliens didn't know were possible, and what she learned made her stomach turn. The Vraxian Empire was planning something big. Amy brought her findings to Lisa in a secure room aboard the Herald. "Ambassador, you need to see this. The Vraxians are moving a major fleet toward Earth. 40 warships under Commander Vexthar. They're calling it a compliance inspection, but the internal communications tell a different story." Lisa studied the intercepted messages on Amy's tablet. The language was clear enough. The Vraxians were going to make new demands, much harsher than before. If Earth refused, they would bombard human cities from orbit. If Earth accepted, they would use the same tactics on every other weak species in the Council. Earth was going to be an example one way or another. "How long until they arrive?" Lisa asked. 3 days. "They'll come out of faster than light travel right at Jupiter's orbit." Lisa immediately sent an encrypted message back to Earth. President Laura Martinez received it in the middle of the night and called an emergency meeting of her Security Council. Admiral Jack Peterson arrived at the White House within an hour. General Ben Crawford came from the Pentagon. Together with the president, they read Amy's intelligence report in silence. "They're going to force our hand," General Crawford said. "If we submit to these new demands, we'll lose all credibility. If we refuse, they'll kill millions of civilians." Admiral Peterson pulled up a holographic display showing the Shadow Fleet's current positions. "We always knew this moment would come. The question is whether we're ready to stop hiding." President Martinez looked older than her 50 years. The weight of the decision showed on her face. "If we reveal the Shadow Fleet now, the entire galaxy will know we've been lying for 6 months. They'll call us deceptive and aggressive. We'll lose any chance at real diplomatic relations." "With respect, Madam President," the Admiral said, "if we don't reveal the fleet, we won't have any relations at all, because we'll be slaves, or dead." The debate continued for hours. They discussed evacuation plans, defensive positions, diplomatic consequences, and military options. In the end, President Martinez made the only decision she could. "Contact Commander Morrison. Tell him to prepare the Shadow Fleet for combat operations. If the Vraxians make their demands, we'll show them exactly what humanity is capable of." 3 days later, the Vraxian fleet arrived exactly where Amy's intelligence predicted. 40 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter. Each ship was a kilometer long, covered in weapon emplacements and thick armor plating. They moved in perfect formation toward Earth, broadcasting their arrival on all frequencies. Commander Vexthar was a Vraxian warrior with deep red scales and 4 powerful arms. He had conquered 7 species for the Empire and expected humans to be the 8th. His flagship, the Dominator, led the fleet with its weapons already charged and ready. He didn't expect resistance, but he always prepared for it anyway. The Herald met them halfway between Jupiter and Mars. Captain Daniel Hayes opened a communication channel, his face appearing on Vexthar's viewscreen. "Commander Vexthar, welcome to the solar system. How can Earth assist the Vraxian Empire today?" Vexthar's laugh sounded like rocks grinding together. "You can start by listening carefully, human. Your species has been granted the honor of Vraxian protection, but that protection comes with costs. New costs. Effective immediately, Earth will provide 30% of all industrial output to the Empire. You will allow Vraxian military bases on your moon and on Mars. You will provide 100,000 human workers annually for service in our labor battalions." Daniel kept his face neutral. "These terms are significantly different from our original agreement. We'll need time to discuss them with our government." "You have 72 hours, Vexthar said. To help you understand the seriousness of these terms, let me provide a demonstration." The Vraxian fleet opened fire on 3 human cargo ships that were hauling supplies from the asteroid belt. The ships had no weapons and no shields. They exploded in seconds. 2,000 civilians died before they even knew they were under attack. The debris spread across space, glittering in the sunlight like a cloud of metal tears. Vexthar smiled. showing rows of sharp teeth. That is what happens when species waste our time with discussions. 72 hours, Captain Hayes. Accept our terms or we will begin orbital bombardment of your cities. We will start with the one you call New York, and work our way through every major population center until you understand your place in the empire. The communication ended. Daniel stood on his bridge, shaking with rage. His crew looked at him, waiting for orders. He took a deep breath and sent a single message to Earth. They've crossed the line. On Mars command. Admiral Peterson received the message and immediately opened a secure channel to Commander Kyle Morrison aboard the Valiant. Commander, you are authorized to execute Operation Revelation. The Shadow Fleet will decloak in 72 hours. Eliminate the Vraxian threat. Show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens Earth. Kyle had been waiting for this order for 6 months. His crew had been training, drilling, preparing for the moment when humanity would stop pretending to be weak. He sent orders to all 400 ships of the Shadow Fleet. All captains, this is Morrison. We go loud in 3 days. Make your final preparations. Check your weapons. Brief your crews. When we decloak, the entire galaxy will be watching. Make sure we give them something to remember. Captain Nicole Harper received the order aboard her destroyer Thunderbolt. She had been hiding in the shadow of one of Saturn's moons, keeping her ship systems at minimum power to avoid detection. Now she brought everything online. Weapons charged. Shields activated. Engines warming up to full power. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person knowing exactly what to do. Captain Ryan Foster got the same message on his battlecruiser Defiant. His ship was hidden in the asteroid belt, looking like just another chunk of rock to any sensors that passed by. He pulled up the tactical data on the Vraxian fleet. 40 ships against 400 sounded like good odds, but Foster knew better than to be overconfident. The Vraxians were experienced warriors. They wouldn't go down easily. Back on Earth, President Martinez addressed her cabinet. In 72 hours, everything changes. We've kept the Shadow Fleet secret for 150 years. We built it hoping we'd never need it, now we do. When we reveal those ships, we'll either become a respected power in the galaxy, or we'll start a war we might not win. General Crawford pulled up projections on a screen. Our simulations show a 95% chance of victory against the Vraxian force currently in our system. But once we reveal our capabilities, other species will react. Some will want to ally with us. Others will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated before we get stronger. Let them try, Admiral Peterson said quietly. We've been preparing for this since the day we detected the first alien signal. We knew the galaxy might be hostile. We knew we might have to fight. That's why we built the Shadow Fleet in the first place. Lisa Chen sent a message from the Herald. She had been monitoring the Galactic Council's reaction to the Vraxian ultimatum. Most species stayed silent, unwilling to challenge the Empire's authority. A few smaller species sent private messages to Earth expressing sympathy, but offering no help. The Council itself issued no statement at all. They're going to let it happen, Lisa reported. The Council will stand by while the Vraxians destroy us. No one will intervene. We're completely alone. President Martinez read the report and felt her last doubts disappear. Then we save ourselves. Admiral Peterson, Commander Morrison has full authorization to engage. When the deadline expires, humanity stops hiding. The 72 hours crawled by. Vraxian ships moved into position around Earth, their weapons aimed at major cities. Vexthar broadcast constant messages demanding Earth's surrender. Human civilians were evacuated from targeted areas as quietly as possible. The news networks reported it as emergency drills, but everyone knew something terrible was coming. In the Kuiper Belt, Kyle Morrison gathered his command staff for a final briefing. We've trained for this moment. We've prepared for every scenario. In a few hours, we're going to show 40 Vraxian ships why you don't threaten Earth. We're going to show the galaxy that humanity isn't prey. We're predators who've been pretending to be sheep. The final minutes ticked away. Vexthar prepared to give the order to begin bombardment. He expected humanity to break at the last second, to beg and plead and accept his terms. He had seen it happen dozens of times before with other species. Kyle Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the countdown timer reach 0. His hand hovered over the control panel. Around him, 400 ships waited for his command. 150 years of secrets. 150 years of preparation, all coming down to this single moment. The timer hit 0 and Kyle spoke 2 words that changed everything. Commander Kyle Morrison spoke the two words that every captain in the Shadow Fleet had been waiting to hear. All ships decloak now. The space around Earth erupted with energy signatures that made every sensor in the Vraxian fleet scream warnings. 400 warships materialized from nothing, appearing in perfect formation around the 40 Vraxian vessels. Ships that had been invisible for 150 years suddenly became the most visible objects in the solar system. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, carriers, and massive dreadnoughts, each one broadcasting active sensor returns that announced their presence to anyone watching. On the bridge of the Dominator, Commander Vexthar stared at his tactical display in complete shock. The screen showed 400 new contacts where seconds ago there had been empty space. His tactical officer was making sounds of confusion, checking and rechecking the sensors to make sure they weren't malfunctioning. They weren't malfunctioning, the human fleet was real and it was everywhere. Where did they come from? Vexthar demanded. How did they hide from our sensors? Nobody on his bridge had an answer. Vraxian technology was supposed to be superior to anything humanity possessed. Their sensors could detect a single ship from light years away, but they had completely missed 400 warships sitting right in their own solar system. Kyle Morrison opened a communication channel that broadcast to every Vraxian ship. His voice was calm and cold. Commander Vexthar, you came to our home uninvited. You killed our people without cause. You threatened our families and our cities. Now you will learn what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. This is your only warning. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any hostile action will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. Vexthar's pride would not allow him to surrender to a species he had considered primitive. He gave the order his training demanded. All ships open fire. Destroy these humans before they can coordinate their attack. The Vraxian fleet launched everything they had: energy beams that could melt through asteroids, missiles with warheads powerful enough to crack moons, plasma torpedoes that burned at temperatures matching the surface of stars. It was enough firepower to destroy a small planet, all directed at the human ships in a massive coordinated strike. Captain Nicole Harper was ready for it. Her destroyer Thunderbolt had been specifically designed to counter exactly this type of attack. Her point defense systems came online, tracking every incoming projectile with computer precision. Lasers and railguns fired in rapid sequence, intercepting missiles and torpedoes before they could reach her ship. The energy beams that got through hit her shields and dispersed harmlessly across the electromagnetic field. All weapons, return fire, Nicole ordered. Her railguns spun up to full speed and launched tungsten rounds at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles crossed the distance to the nearest Vraxian cruiser in less than a second. The Vraxian shields were designed to stop energy weapons and conventional missiles. They offered no protection at all against solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. The tungsten rounds punched through the Vraxian shields like they weren't there. They tore through the hull armor and ripped into the ship's interior, causing catastrophic damage to engines and weapons systems. The cruiser went dark, its power failing as critical systems were destroyed. It drifted in space, completely disabled but with its crew still alive inside. Captain Ryan Foster attacked from a different angle. His battle cruiser Defiant moved with speed that shouldn't have been possible for a ship its size. He brought his vessel alongside a Vraxian destroyer and fired his electromagnetic pulse weapons. The pulse was precisely calibrated to overload electronic systems without killing organic crew members. The Vraxian ship's computers fried instantly. Navigation failed. Weapons offline. Life support switched to emergency backup. The destroyer was dead in space within 3 seconds. The battle that Commander Vexthar expected to win in minutes turned into a nightmare in less than 90 seconds. 15 of his 40 ships were disabled or destroyed. His remaining vessels scrambled to adapt their tactics, but the humans seemed to anticipate every move. When Vraxian ships tried to retreat, human destroyers cut off their escape routes. When they tried to form defensive formations, human cruisers broke them apart with coordinated strikes. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was conducting electronic warfare from the Herald. She had spent 6 months studying Vraxian communication protocols and computer systems. Now she used that knowledge to jam their transmissions, intercept their orders, and inject false data into their tactical networks. Vraxian ships started seeing phantom human vessels on their sensors. Their targeting computers locked onto coordinates where nothing actually existed. Confusion spread through their fleet like poison. Admiral Jack Peterson watched the battle from Mars Command with satisfaction. Every simulation they had run over the past 150 years had predicted this outcome, but seeing it happen in reality was different. The Shadow Fleet was performing exactly as designed. Human ships working together with perfect coordination, each captain knowing their role and executing it flawlessly. Vexthar realized too late that he had made a terrible mistake. His flagship was surrounded by human vessels that matched his every move. When he tried to charge his main weapons, railgun rounds disabled them before they could fire. When he attempted to activate his faster-than-light drive to escape, electromagnetic pulses shut it down. He was trapped, helpless, watching his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy he had completely underestimated. Kyle Morrison gave the order for the final phase. All boarding teams execute capture protocols. I want every Vraxian ship taken intact with their crews alive. The galaxy needs to see that we can win without unnecessary killing. Commander Greg Allen led the Marine forces from his assault carrier. His teams used magnetic grapples to lock onto disabled Vraxian vessels and cut through their hulls with precision tools. Marines in powered armor moved through the ships, stunning Vraxian crew members with non-lethal weapons and securing critical areas. The Vraxians fought back with whatever they had, but human armor was too strong and human tactics were too refined. Within 6 hours of the battle starting, every single Vraxian ship was under human control. 40 vessels that had come to conquer Earth were now prizes of war. Their crews were prisoners confined to their own ships under human guard. Not one human vessel had been destroyed. A few had taken damage from the initial Vraxian barrage, but nothing that couldn't be repaired quickly. Kyle Morrison opened a channel to the Dominator and spoke directly to Vexthar. Your fleet is defeated. Your ships are captured. Your crew members are alive and will be treated according to the laws of war. You came here expecting to make us slaves. Instead, you've learned that Earth bows to no one. Vexthar said nothing. What could he say? He had been defeated completely. His entire fleet taken without destroying a single human ship. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. The Vraxian Empire would be humiliated when news of this defeat spread through the galaxy. Captain Kate Sullivan was already working on spreading that news. Her carrier Resolution was equipped with quantum communication arrays that could transmit across vast distances instantly. She began broadcasting footage of the battle to every inhabited system in the galaxy. The message included full tactical data, showing how the human fleet had appeared from nowhere and defeated a superior Vraxian force in hours. Ambassador Lisa Chen provided the diplomatic message that accompanied the footage. She had written it carefully during the 72-hour countdown. Her voice was transmitted along with the battle recordings to every species in the Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Lisa Chen of Earth. For 6 months, we have accepted the role of a vassal species because we hoped for peace. We showed you a small fleet because we wanted to build trust. But when the Vraxian Empire came to our home with threats and killed our people, we were forced to reveal the truth. The holographic display showed the Shadow Fleet in all its glory. 400 warships arranged in perfect formation around Earth. We are not weak. We are not defenseless. We built this fleet 150 years ago when we first detected your signals, and didn't know if you would be friends or enemies. We hoped for friendship but prepared for war. Today, the Vraxian Empire learned the cost of assuming humanity could be conquered. Lisa's message continued with terms that were simple and direct. To all species in the galaxy, Earth offers this promise. Come to us in peace and you will find friends eager to learn and trade. Come to us with threats and you will find what the Vraxians found today. We seek no empire. We claim no territory beyond our own system. But we will defend ourselves and we will defend those who cannot defend themselves. Let the Vraxian defeat be a lesson to anyone who thinks humanity is easy prey. The message ended with coordinates for diplomatic contact and an open invitation for peaceful species to establish relations with Earth. Within hours, responses started flooding in from across the galaxy. Some species expressed shock and disbelief. Others sent congratulations and requests for military alliances. A few, including the Vraxian home government, transmitted furious demands for the return of their captured fleet and threats of retaliation. Kyle Morrison gathered his command staff for a brief meeting after the battle. We've revealed ourselves to the galaxy and won our first engagement, but this is just the beginning. Every aggressive species out there now knows we exist and they're going to be deciding whether we're a threat or an opportunity. The footage of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy, faster than anyone expected. Within 2 days, every species in the Galactic Council had seen the battle recordings. They watched 40 Vraxian warships get defeated by a human fleet that appeared from nowhere. They saw technology that shouldn't exist in a species barely 2 centuries into space travel. Most importantly, they saw their assumptions about humanity completely destroyed. On Nexus Prime, emergency council sessions ran continuously. Director Quarak stood before the assembly looking far less confident than he had 6 months ago, when he dismissed humanity as primitive. His multiple arms gestured at holographic displays showing analysis of human weapons and tactics. Our military experts have reviewed the battle data extensively. The human fleet uses technologies we don't fully understand. Their stealth systems are beyond anything in our databases. Their kinetic weapons bypass conventional shielding. Their electronic warfare capabilities are decades ahead of our own. A delegate from the Keltharian Consortium, a species that looked like walking crystals, spoke in chiming tones. How did they develop such technology in only 200 years of spaceflight? It took our civilization 5,000 years to achieve faster-than-light travel. Ambassador Lisa Chen stood to address the council. She had returned to Nexus Prime aboard the Valiant, Commander Kyle Morrison's dreadnought with an escort of 20 human warships. The symbolism was obvious to everyone present. We didn't develop this technology in 200 years. We've been working on it for 150 years, ever since we detected your signals and realized we weren't alone in the universe. Lisa activated her own display showing Earth's history. When we learned about the galaxy, we faced a choice. We could announce ourselves immediately and hope you were peaceful. Or we could watch, listen, and prepare for the possibility that you might be hostile. We chose preparation. Every resource we could spare went into building the Shadow Fleet. We mined asteroids in secret. We built automated factories that no one talked about. We developed weapons in hidden laboratories across our solar system. The council chamber filled with agitated sounds from hundreds of species. Lisa continued speaking over the noise. We hid our true capabilities because we wanted to learn about you first. We needed to know if the galaxy was a place where species cooperated, or a place where the strong dominated the weak. The Vraxian ultimatum gave us our answer. A massive delegate from the Thornak Empire, creatures that resembled armored bears, stood and pointed one clawed hand at Lisa. Your species lied to this council. You presented false information about your military capabilities. You signed treaties under false pretenses. This is deception of the highest order. We showed you exactly what we wanted you to see, Lisa replied calmly. Just as every species in this chamber keeps military secrets, just as the Vraxian Empire didn't tell us they planned to enslave humanity before they arrived with threats, we chose survival over blind trust, and that choice saved billions of human lives. The debate raged for hours. Smaller species, the ones who lived in fear of aggressive empires, saw humanity as potential protectors. Several delegates approached Lisa privately to discuss mutual defense agreements. Larger militaristic species viewed Earth as a threat that had to be contained before humans grew even stronger. Captain Eric Santos was gathering intelligence from his stealth ship Phantom. His vessel was designed for reconnaissance, equipped with sensors that could monitor communications across vast distances without being detected. What he learned made him contact Admiral Jack Peterson immediately. Sir, we have a problem. Multiple species are forming a coalition. Vraxians, Thornax, Keltharians, and 4 others. They're planning to mass their fleets and strike Earth. Before we can strengthen further, Peterson reviewed the intercepted communications from his command center on Mars. The coalition was calling themselves the Security Council, claiming their goal was to prevent human expansion and protect galactic peace. Their real goal was obvious from their private messages. They wanted to destroy Earth's military capability before humanity became too powerful to challenge. How many ships are they gathering? Peterson asked. Current estimates show 600 warships. They're claiming it's for joint military exercises, but the fleet is assembling near the border of human space. Peterson immediately called an emergency meeting with President Laura Martinez and her military leadership. General Ben Crawford advocated for a massive expansion of the Shadow Fleet. We need to build more ships immediately. Double our fleet size. Establish defensive positions throughout the solar system. Show them we're ready for anything they throw at us. Captain Nicole Harper proposed a different approach. Instead of just building up our military, We should offer protection to the species who are afraid of these aggressive empires. Form our own alliances. Show the galaxy that we're not interested in conquest, but we will defend those who can't defend themselves. President Martinez listened to both arguments carefully. We'll do both. Admiral Peterson, begin expanding the Shadow Fleet. Add 200 new ships over the next year. Captain Harper, work with Ambassador Chen to form mutual defense pacts with vulnerable species. Lieutenant Claire Morgan will lead the diplomatic initiative. Claire Morgan was a young but talented diplomat who had been studying galactic politics since first contact. She traveled to 12 smaller civilizations with a simple message. Earth would help protect them from aggressive empires if they agreed to share technology and resources. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Species who had lived under threat for centuries saw humanity as the strong ally they desperately needed. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Foster took his battlecruiser Defiant to patrol the border of Vraxian space. His orders were clear: maximum visibility, zero aggression, constant vigilance. He wanted the Vraxians to see human ships everywhere, watching their every move, ready to respond to any threat. His presence was meant to send a message that Earth was not afraid and would not be intimidated. The Vraxian Empire was struggling with the aftermath of their defeat. Commander Vexthar was imprisoned and awaiting trial for his failure. The Vraxian military command was divided between those who wanted immediate revenge and those who recognized that humanity was far more dangerous than they had believed. The moderate faction argued for diplomacy and negotiation. The aggressive faction wanted to join the coalition and crush Earth before humans could expand further. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Lisa worked tirelessly to prevent open war. She met with delegates from dozens of species, explaining that humanity sought only security and cooperation. She shared limited technical data about human stealth technology with friendly species as a gesture of goodwill. She proposed new council regulations that would prevent any species from making ultimatums backed by military threats. Director Korax approached Lisa privately after one council session. Ambassador Chen, I must admit I underestimated your species badly. When you first arrived, I thought you were children playing at galactic politics. Now I see that humanity is perhaps the most dangerous species in the council. Dangerous to those who threaten us, Lisa corrected. But we could be valuable allies to those who approach us honestly. Earth doesn't want to dominate the galaxy. We just want to ensure no one dominates us. Korax seemed to consider this carefully. The coalition forming against you includes some of the most powerful militaries in known space. If they attack Earth, even your impressive fleet might not be enough to stop them. Then perhaps you should encourage them not to attack, Lisa said, because if they do, they'll learn the same lesson the Vraxians learned. Humanity prepared for this war for 150 years. We're not going to lose it. Back on Earth, Commander Kyle Morrison was coordinating with his fellow captains. The Shadow Fleet was dispersing throughout the solar system, taking up defensive positions around critical infrastructure. The Valiant remained near Earth as the command ship. Captain Kate Sullivan's carrier Resolution positioned itself near the asteroid belt where it could launch fighters quickly. Dozens of destroyers and cruisers formed a defensive screen that would detect any approaching threat. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez continued her intelligence work, monitoring communications across the galaxy. She discovered that the coalition was planning to strike within 3 months. Their strategy was to overwhelm Earth with numbers, accepting heavy casualties in exchange for destroying humanity's military capability. They believed that once the Shadow Fleet was eliminated, Earth would be vulnerable and could be forced into submission. Admiral Peterson shared this intelligence with President Martinez. They're going to come at us with everything they have. 600 ships against our 400. The odds aren't terrible, but they're not great either. Can we win? The President asked directly. In a straight fight, probably. Our technology is superior and our crews are better trained. But we'll take significant casualties. We might lose 50 ships, maybe more. That's thousands of lives. Martinez looked out the window of her office at Earth below. Billions of people going about their lives unaware that their entire civilization was about to face its greatest test. Do we have any other options? We could surrender, Peterson said quietly. Accept whatever terms the coalition offers. Dismantle the Shadow Fleet and hope they treat us fairly afterward. You don't believe they would. No, Madam President, I don't. Species that form military coalitions to attack others rarely show mercy when they win. If we surrender, we'll be slaves at best. extinct at worst. Martinez made her decision. Then we fight. Alert all commanders. Prepare for battle. And pray that when it's over there's still an Earth worth protecting. The Coalition didn't attack Earth as everyone expected. Instead, they attacked Nexus Prime itself in a move that shocked the entire galaxy. General Thexkar of the Vraxian military led 400 warships in a sudden assault on the Council station. His plan was bold and ruthless. Capture the station, take the Council leadership hostage, and force humanity's expulsion from galactic civilization. If Earth tried to intervene, they would be painted as aggressors attacking a legitimate Council operation. The attack happened during a normal session when thousands of delegates were present. Vraxian ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly around the station and immediately launched boarding parties. 50,000 troops in assault armor flooded through docking bays and breached hull sections. Within minutes, they controlled half the station and were moving toward the Council chambers where the leadership was trapped. Ambassador Lisa Chen was in her quarters aboard the Valiant when the attack began. Commander Kyle Morrison burst through her door without knocking. "Ambassador, Nexus Prime is under attack. The Coalition is taking the station by force." Lisa immediately understood the situation. "They're forcing our hand. If we don't intervene, the Council falls and we lose any political legitimacy. If we do intervene, they'll claim we're the aggressors. Admiral Peterson is asking for orders. We have 60 ships within range of Nexus Prime. We can be there in 10 minutes. Lisa made the decision without hesitation. "Tell the Admiral to move all available ships to Nexus Prime immediately. We're not letting them take the station. Transmit our actions to every species in the galaxy so they can see we're defending the Council, not attacking it." The Valiant and 59 other human warships jumped to faster-than-light speed and emerged near Nexus Prime. The scene that greeted them was chaos. Coalition ships surrounded the station, some firing on defensive emplacements while others covered the boarding operations. Debris from destroyed Council defense platforms floated in space. Emergency signals from trapped delegates filled every communication channel. Kyle Morrison didn't wait for the Coalition to react. "All ships engage the enemy. Priority targets are their troop carriers and command vessels. Disable where possible, but eliminate any threat to the station." Captain Kate Sullivan's carrier Resolution was the first to strike. She launched 200 fighter craft that swarmed toward the Coalition fleet like angry insects. The small ships were fast and agile, darting between larger vessels and targeting their engines and weapon systems with precision strikes. Coalition ships tried to shoot down the fighters, but human pilots were too skilled and their craft too maneuverable. Captain Nicole Harper took her destroyer Thunderbolt directly into the thickest part of the enemy formation. Her railguns fired continuously, each tungsten round finding its target with computer-guided accuracy. A Thornak battleship tried to ram her vessel, but Nicole spun her ship on its axis and fired her engines at full power, dodging the collision by meters. Her counterattack disabled the battleship's main reactor, leaving it drifting helplessly. Inside Nexus Prime, the situation was desperate. General Thexkar's troops had reached the outer corridors of the Council chambers. Director Quarax and dozens of other Council members were barricaded inside, protected only by the station's minimal security forces. Thexkar broadcast his demands to the galaxy. Humanity would be expelled from the Council. All human ships would leave Nexus Prime. Earth would submit to Coalition oversight, or he would execute one Council member every hour until his demands were met. Commander Greg Allen was already moving to prevent that. His assault carrier had docked with Nexus Prime under covering fire from Captain Ryan Foster's battlecruiser Defiant. Greg led 3,000 Marines into the station through a maintenance airlock that Coalition forces hadn't secured. His troops moved through the corridors in perfect tactical formation, clearing each section methodically. The fighting inside the station was brutal and close quarters. Coalition troops had superior numbers, but human Marines had better training and equipment. Greg's soldiers used non-lethal weapons whenever possible, stunning enemy combatants instead of killing them. Every corridor they cleared brought them closer to the Council chambers and the trapped delegates. Outside the station, the space battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. Captain Ryan Foster's Defiant had positioned itself between the station and the Coalition's largest ships. His electromagnetic pulse weapons fired in carefully controlled bursts, disabling enemy vessels without destroying them. Within 30 minutes, a third of the Coalition fleet was dead in space, their crews alive but their ships powerless. General Thexkar watched his plan collapse from his command post inside the station. His fleet was being defeated. His troops were being pushed back by human marines. His hostages were about to be rescued. In desperation, he made a final terrible decision. He ordered his troops to begin executing council members to force humanity to stop their attack. Commander Greg Allen received intelligence about the execution order from Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, who was monitoring all coalition communications. Greg immediately changed his approach from methodical clearing to an all-out sprint. His Marines charged through the remaining corridors, taking casualties but refusing to slow down. They had to reach the council chambers before Thexkar could carry out his threat. The coalition troops guarding the final corridor fought hard, but they were no match for human determination. Greg's Marines broke through the last defensive position and reached the council chamber doors just as Thexkar was raising his weapon to shoot Director Korax. Greg fired first, his stun round hitting the Vraxian general and dropping him unconscious before he could pull the trigger. The rescue of the council leadership was transmitted across the galaxy just like the battle outside. Every species watched as human Marines secured the chamber and escorted frightened delegates to safety. They saw humans risking their lives to save aliens who had only months ago treated them as inferiors. The political impact was immediate and overwhelming. Admiral Jack Peterson coordinated the final phase of the operation from Mars. With the council chamber secured and most of the coalition fleet disabled, he ordered all remaining enemy forces to surrender. General Thexkar was captured alive. His ships were taken intact. His troops were disarmed and held as prisoners. The entire assault had failed completely. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council met in emergency session aboard a human ship since Nexus Prime needed extensive repairs. The coalition species faced immediate consequences. The Vraxian Empire lost all military authority within the Council. Species that had participated in the attack faced economic sanctions. The Council's structure was reformed with new rules, preventing any single species or coalition from dominating others. Ambassador Lisa addressed the reformed Council with a proposal that would reshape galactic politics. Earth would help establish a mutual defense force drawn from willing species. Any civilization could join regardless of size or military strength. The force would protect members from aggression and respond to threats against peace. Humanity would contribute ships and training, but would not dominate the organization. Smaller species voted overwhelmingly in favor. Even some larger civilizations that had remained neutral during the crisis supported the proposal. Within weeks, the Galactic Defense Initiative was formed with 20 species as founding members. Captain Nicole Harper was appointed to lead the training program. Lieutenant Claire Morgan negotiated the treaties that bound member species together. Commander Kyle Morrison stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching Earth through the viewscreen. The planet looked peaceful from space, unaware of how close it had come to destruction. Admiral Peterson appeared on his communication screen. Commander, the President wants to thank you and your crew personally. You're all being recalled to Earth for a ceremony. We were just doing our job, Admiral. Protecting Earth and standing up for what's right. You did more than that. You showed the galaxy what humanity stands for. We could have hidden forever. We could have used our power to dominate others. Instead, we revealed ourselves to protect our own, and then used that same strength to protect others who couldn't protect themselves. Kyle thought about the last 6 months. The deception, the reveal, the battles, the political struggles, and finally the defense of Nexus Prime. Do you think we've made the right choices, sir? Peterson smiled. History will judge that. But I know this much. We prepared for war and hoped for peace. When war came, we won it. When peace became possible, we chose it. That's the best any civilization can do. On Earth, President Laura Martinez addressed her planet with news of humanity's new role in the galaxy. We built the Shadow Fleet in secret because we didn't know if the galaxy would welcome us or destroy us. We revealed it because we refused to be conquered. We used it to save others because strength without purpose is just violence. Today, humanity is not feared as a threat but respected as a defender. That is the legacy we choose to build. Across the galaxy, species that once dismissed Earth as primitive now looked to humanity as an example. The civilization that had hidden its fleets and revealed them only when necessary. The species that could have conquered, but chose to protect instead. Admiral Jack Peterson's final report to the President. summed up everything that had happened. We showed them our strength and they trembled. But more importantly, we showed them our character and they trusted us. In the end, that trust will matter more than any weapon we built.